All right, so I want to give a quick update. I've been thinking about this for most of the week. I took a little break on it, and I'm trying to figure out where to go with some of this. So when I was doing my leveling of the car, I have a laser level I'm running under the car. I've got those little ruler pieces that I'm hanging down under there from each of these bolt holes and lining up, where that height should be on each of those, the four corners and obviously the middle of the car. And when I got done doing that, it felt to me like the body was too high and the rails still don't quite go under far deep enough. So I still kind of end up with a little bit of a gap underneath the bottom of the floor support when I put the floor support flush to the floor on the bottom. Now I know that's only sheet metal, the floor, so that'll probably conform to whatever I want it to do, and maybe I should just focus on these to be tight, but just something doesn't feel right. So I did some reading on forums and such online, and one of the things that came up was on your height measurements and on the car for leveling, if you look at the numbers, so I've got these numbers in here where I have for Mustang 15.57. I've got that at the back. I've got this one up here, the 10.84 on the, I want to say that's, right side. Left side is 9.4, so driver's side's a little bit higher than the other side, that bolt hole is. And then the front, the 12.94. I've got that, and this guy. I don't have this guy. This one is too big of a number. So I actually have 8.3 or somewhere in that ballpark, meaning that when I installed the rear rails, I'm guessing at this point, because I had the whole entire floor out of the back of the car, that when I welded them back into the rocker panels, these points had to have been slightly too high. Possibly. It's a guess at this point, but that's my best estimate or best guess at this point, is that they're too high. Because right now when I check it, when I have the front and the back correct, the middle is a little too high. Now, does that affect anything? Yeah, sure. You got your leaf springs under here, so I guess you could say you could end up with some kind of loading on the leaf springs. Maybe it won't wind right, or it won't twist, or whatever you call it, like when you go to take a launch. But I don't. Then again, I'm not even sure what we're doing back here yet as far as suspension, so it may not matter in the long run. But it's just of note. But the bigger thing is there is no dimension from the bottom, from this datum line to the bottom of the rocker, and it doesn't even say what this bottom rocker measurement is. So this could very well be a simulation of where the where the frame rail is, and then they just kind of shot it back in a straight line, or this could be something that they're acting is like the rocker. But it doesn't give any symbol saying it's parallel or anything else. So when I looked online, a lot of people, there were some people with the same issue, saying, well, I don't know what to do. When they measured theirs out, they ended up with the front of the car being slightly high. And some people had it anywhere upwards of 3/4 of an inch raised. Now you can't go all the way to the front. That front extension is at a funky angle, but when you come up to about the pillar, that dimension from there down to that datum line, and then back in here down to the datum line, they ended up with a tilt going up ever so slightly. So right now I've got about a 1/4 inch difference from the back to the front, and so the front is up about a 1/4 inch. But it's it's equal on both sides, so I can't really complain. At least it's somewhat square that way. But that being said, I still don't know that I like what I'm seeing with the rails. So I'm having some issues here where, my number one issue is that when I put the rail into position and I have these heights, these forward heights at the right, where my little ruler is there, when I have the laser at the right height and it's sitting correctly, I have to jack the body at additional distance in order to get the rail under the floor further. And why I say that is because, like this rail here, when I put the floor support on here, I've got slop in this. So it's not sandwiching tight. I can get my finger in there. So obviously this piece, I would think, would want to be a little lower underneath, meaning where these are mounted right here on the face of the rock of the firewall, this plate should be slid downward, let's just say 3/16 or so, should be down a little further in order for this to go under a little better. But then when I do that, now this guy is probably going to be sloping possibly uphill towards the back. So in order to mesh with the floor. Now you can kind of see on the floor, it's kind of hard with this camera view, I think, but I do have a little bit of pressure on it from with that the screw jack, but I don't know, if that's truly making it distort that much or not. But I mean, I had pretty much no load across the front across the floor pan, and it still just didn't look right. So I got to dig into that some more. However, that's not my biggest issue right now. My biggest issue is that if I come to the driver's side and I look at this rail and how the rail is mounted, yes, I still have a little bit of the elevation problem under here that I might be able to, sandwich that up, put a little pressure there. I could probably fix this one if I, if assuming they're both parallel to each other, both rails, I could probably make this floor support work. But what I've found doing some measuring is that the flange on each side of the forward, the frame rail, this flange from outer flange, from out here where it mounts up against the firewall, from outer flange to edge of outer flange, this one was an 1/8 inch wider than the passenger side. Now that in and of itself, I thought, well, okay, it's flanges, maybe they cut it funny or whatever. But it gets worse. So this one, if I look at it, take a peek at this. I can squeeze this in, but it's got a little bit of play in here. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch, but I mean, you put clamps on it, tighten it down, weld it, and then you seam seal or whatever when you're done. You probably, you live to fight another day there. However, this side, if I take the inside and I flush it up against the face, I come around to the way out on the passenger side here, I've got a huge gap. I mean, I've got a 1/4 inch gap. So that led me to measure this guy, to measure the thickness of this section here from this face to this face in here. And turns out this frame rail is a 1/4 inch thinner back here, skinnier than that frame rail on the other side. No idea why. All I can assume is it's welded incorrectly. So they must have pushed this panel in too far and then welded it. But what's weird is, like, in here, I don't have like a crazy overlap or anything. So it's really baffling to me that could happen. Okay, so with the floor supports out, you can now pretty clearly see the flange on the bottom of this is sticking out past that face. So, I mean, it's kind of, the lighting makes it a little challenging here, but I mean, there's a lip right here that's, every bit of, well, this little weird cut part here is probably, 3/16 long or something, maybe in the middle, but it's only about, 1/8 to 3/32 here. But if you look at this piece here, this is the piece that is technically pushed in. So if I take this, if I pull it out, or try to get it to pull, I can tweak that out some, but there's only so much I can do with these 2 screws up here holding that top panel. So I'm not sure what the best method will be here yet, but what I probably need to do is drill some spot welds out, because I can make that bend out, but that only gets me in the rail up to about here where it makes sense, and then it's going to start getting out of kilter up in here. So what I probably need to do is measure up in here, what's the distance from side to side, make sure that's correct. If it's correct up into like here somewhere, then I can worry about just doing the tail end. But if it's incorrect all the way up into here somewhere, then I have to potentially take all the spot welds out through here and then pull the whole thing out, respot down there just to get it to hold that shape. All right, so I'm gonna take the screws out from in here to try to release it from there. That's why I put some jacks under the bottom to support it when I take that off, so it doesn't just drop. And then I've got to just kind of finagle it back a little bit. I've still got the cross brace, or the transmission cross member in here. Not transmission, sorry, engine cross member in here. So it should keep it from twisting around too much. And I've got vice grips here holding the radiator support on there. Even though that, I've still got to clean that up a little bit, but it's still holding my 27.5 inch dimension, which I want to retain. That's actually interesting because I was trying to drill through the spot welds and wanting to stay a little clear of this, you know, just kind of mark it a little bit, but I didn't make it all the way through up here, but the spot welds are breaking before I'm even breaking that through. So doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence in the rest of the welds, but you know, I'm at least glad it's coming apart. All right, yeah, so that opened it up, obviously. So now, you look at the gap, which is of course more than it needs to be, but I have the flexibility now to do what I need to do. I'm gonna have to clean up the back of these, obviously, because some of it, a little bit of burrs went through. I'll just probably stick a cutoff disc in there and kind of knock those down. And then this can be sandwiched back over. I just have to make sure I retain the dimension in here. So in order to not lock it in at the wrong dimension like they did in the first place. So that's the thought, at least. All right, so now I'm going to try to at least mock it back up a little bit and see what I'm looking at dimensionally. All right, so in case I didn't explain previously, which I think I did, but I have a laser level under here, shooting lines out, and I have little pieces of sheet metal I had made that just had them cut on a plasma cutter. It's an online service called Send Cut Send. Just painted them and slapped these stickers on here I got from Amazon, just these ruler stickers. And then I just knocked the hole out to where my zero is on the center line of this top hole. So now when I hang it, I can see how far down the line hits, and I'll know if my dimensions are correct. So I've got a couple here, a couple there, a couple on the front of the rear torque box, and then a couple at the back coming off the shock of the spring mounts, or off the leaf spring mounts. So I'm just looking for the numbers that are in the manual. All right, so I've got the rails screwed into place. I've got 4 screws in here and 4 screws on the other side that come down through the flanges, kind of like I did previously, but I just had to obviously drill a few more new holes. So I've got that screwed into place. Before I did that though, I measured the distance from the existing, not the convertible rocker, but the existing rocker inner panel, from that face to this face, and I made sure it was even on both sides. It's like 11 inches on this one, so 11 inches, and then that gives me my 27.5 internal dimension across there. So at least I know I'm right there, and then screwing it against the face, honestly, kind of takes some of the diagonal dimensions out of play, because once you pull it against the firewall, there's really nowhere else it can go. So I've got it pulled against there. I'm still gonna check some numbers, obviously, but I've got that pulled there, with the engine cross member in there, holding that dimension too. It's about as square as I could probably get it, realistically. And I have the height figured out as well, so I think that's okay. But again, like I said, I still want to try the aprons at some point in time when I get to that. But for now, I just took the floor supports and I stuck them on there just to temporarily see how they fit, and they fit a lot tighter than before. And so then I just got done marking them where I'm going to drill all my spot weld holes, and drill all that, get it ready, and then I'll have to put them back on temporarily, mark all the spots where the holes will come through over there so I can bare the metal on all those spots, and then I should be ready to weld them on whenever I get to that point, just so it's all prepped and can go together a little more seamlessly. So that's pretty much where it is, and then when I get those on there, I'll then come back and get to the cross member and try to make sure that thing fits in there correctly. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I'm gonna have to bend that flange down a little bit, just to get it to fit up far enough, because it seems to be hitting before it even seats. So there's definitely gonna be some mod on that thing probably too, but it's good progress for today. At least I got this rail repaired, and got everything back up where it truly belongs, from what I can tell. I'll learn more later, but I feel pretty good about where it is right now. So that's about it for now.